All right, Coach, we're trying to stay healthy and well and safe in the midst of a time unlike any other. And we appreciate you taking the time to meet via Zoom recording or video chat because that seems like that's what we have to do now. So I hope you're safe and well, and thank you for taking the time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You bet. Yeah, so you're relatively new to the Palouse, about 12 months or so, give or take, and it's your second time in the pack. You were with Cal and the Golden Bears for 6 years. What do you think as you're now back in the pack for this one season? Is it the same? Is it different? Is it what you expected from Washington State's perspective?
Oh, I think it's grown tremendously. You know, the Pac has always been highly competitive as a conference and had some of the most premier athletes, in the conference. This time around, you got even a greater sense of competitiveness within the conference, a greater sense of, the athletes just excelling to new heights. And it's just been tremendous. Just all over again, the growth and just learning again every single game. You can't take a game off. It's super uber competitive. So, which has been fun. It's been extremely fun.
I was talking to our football guys because they were mostly from Hawaii or Wyoming. And it seemed like a lot of the West Coast recruiting webs, the Venn diagram of the Mountain West and the Pac very much overlap. And you were at Nevada for quite a while. Do you feel like coming here now on the Palouse, you really know already that you've got the contacts, you've got the people you're ready to roll. It's just now you're with Coach Etheridge and you've got the Cougar brand and logo and you're trying to build it up, but you really know where to go.
Absolutely. I think the network on the West Coast is pretty consistent no matter what program, that you're working with. It's all about building relationships, and the people that you've built those relationships with, they trust you. And when you move from one location to the other, you don't change, so it's just a matter of just getting acquainted with, what the coaches want as far as their recruiting profile and, what type of players they want, what type of, and so learning that here, is something that has, taken some time. And, with that, it's just a growth area. But as far as the contacts and locations and things like that, it's allowed us to broaden, or at least me, to broaden relationships and recruit in different areas than I've been accustomed to in the past. That's, I think, one of the area that, that the brand gives us, I would say, because I can go anywhere. I was traveling a lot recruiting, and every time someone saw the Coug head, they would say, "Go Cougs."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, recognizable nationwide. I mean, I was going from East Coast, South, obviously West Coast, and it's just phenomenal how far the brand or the Coug head reaches.
You were the rare two-sport athlete at Wisconsin. You were an All-American high jumper, which seems to go hand in hand with basketball, although I don't think that's all that common.
No.
Is that fair? I haven't heard a lot of high jumpers playing ball.
No, the seasons collide, especially indoor season with the end of, the basketball season. For me, I've always been given a God-given gift to jump and the ability to jump, which I think attracted me with, to basketball in the sense of being able to grab rebounds, off the rim. And, that's one of the things I took a lot of pride in, as a player. But being able to go right into track was a really unique experience. From the beginning, there was an interest, in my freshman year, but was told, that is not, what you're here for. You concentrate on your sport, and not a lot of coaches, allow, that. And so as soon as I was able to graduate and go into track, it's funny how, just with the perseverance and hard work that you put in, it really just took off. It was amazing.
So you said graduate, how did it work with the crossover timing wise? Like what was at some point you were going from basketball practice to high jump, right?
No, actually, I literally got off the plane. We went to the NCAA tournament my senior year, got off the plane from Lubbock, Texas, and went straight to the track coach.
Wow.
And I said, okay, here I am, basketball season's over for me as a senior, and what do I do? And so I literally jumped in right when we finished basketball. I was not doing both, and I learned from scratch because I didn't do track in high school. I did it in a little bit in middle school. So I hadn't jumped in years.
How'd you know? Like, how did that come about? Did you just know, like, hey, I'm a leaper, I'm a rebounder, I know I've got it? But because you just don't you hear about it with sprinting and football,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear about it, that's mainly the go-to. You see a lot of sprinters, or even some, not necessarily just the short dashes, but, the 200 or the 400, whatever. But you don't hear about this a lot.
No, I mean, like I said, I knew that I did have a God-given ability, and it had never really been tapped into, except for just the basketball skill and being able to, like I said, get rebounds. But, from my first interest initially was volleyball, because I was a volleyball player in high school, did a great job, and volleyball is such a team sport. It really fit my personality. I wasn't really sure about an individual sport. How does a team come together? How can I make an impact, with the spirit that I carry, inside to compete? But volleyball at the time had an extremely good, she was a All-American as well, middle hitter, which was my position. And as a senior, you don't want to go into it without an opportunity to play. You want to be able to play in that final season. So someone was like, you really should try track. And I know they had an interest in me as a freshman in my freshman year, but like I said, I wasn't given the opportunity. So I said, well, why not? It's not a bad idea to go and give it a try and, and see. And so I inquired, and they were like, of course, come on, let's try. And I literally had to learn from scratch. I was very raw. My first jump was 5'3". I mean, that's like, you can walk over that. Like, that was terrible. It was terrible. And I cried and cried and cried. I'm like, I can't do this. And the coach stuck with me. And because Fosbury flop is really, it's a technique that's very, 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 acute. Like, you have to be very specific and timing and everything. And so it was hard work, but I worked like an insane, insanely, because a lot of jumpers don't work out a lot. They don't want to strenulate, their muscles. They don't want to.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. They try to take as few jumps as possible in a day. And they really just work on, certain steps or technique or approach, things like that. But me, I was jumping 30, 40 times a day just to get the rhythm and timing down. So
Yeah, that's counterintuitive. I'd think you'd want to get as strong as possible and then get fresh and then, take off. But that's I guess that's maybe more of a basketball mentality.
yes, because in track, your muscles they peak at a certain time, and so while they're peaking is when you want to be at your best and where you want to be like in rhythm to jump.
Huh.
So for me, I was like, had a mentality, like you said, coming from basketball. I was all about just work, just do the work and see what happens, see what you can accomplish. And it worked out. It worked out. It was a lot of fun. Our goal, and especially my goal, I did not want to walk away from Wisconsin without a ring. Like, that was my determination from the very beginning. And even, it was my determination in basketball, but obviously you only can go so far in the NCAA tournament. And in my senior year was our first year of the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
So, we brand new in the tournament, we had no idea going into it what it even meant and what it could accomplish for us. So ideas obviously and goals were set later about winning that championship. But I said, there is no way I'm going to walk away from Wisconsin without a championship ring. And so track was the best thing, for that. At the time, we had some incredible distance runners, and they were right on that brink of winning, a Big Ten championship, that they did not have, field people. And they had a few, but the field made the difference in the points. And, when my coach was like, hey, if you do well enough, you actually could score some points for it. And of course, I'm thinking that. I'm like, yeah, how many points could I score? Like, yeah, let's go. And of course, I was like, 1 point for all that, But ultimately, we got to that level. We got to that point as a team. Everybody rallied together, although we were individual, in individual events, and we came together. And that last meet it was incredible to run that 4x4, and they threw me into it, not
Really?
even knowing I was going to have to run a 400 to win a championship. But
Wow.
you just run your guts out and and pray.
Well, that kind of competitive spirit, that's transferable to now to Cougar basketball. You're trying to just bring that along. I mean, that's not sports specific. That's anywhere, right?
Absolutely. And that is the key component to this staff. Joining this staff, that is the one thing I tell my friends everywhere. I was like, wow, it's opened my eyes to a different world of basketball that I didn't know. It's almost like reading a new chapter of basketball that you've never read. And the one thing, that element that's of its highest nature, is the competitive spirit and competitive nature that this staff possesses. And in everything that they do, they go all out. And with Coach E being a don't settle type of coach, it's just been awesome to learn from, and to see the response, and the players, and to be this close and so many times, but to know that all it takes is just that turn of the corner and you're there. But building culture takes a long time, and and then it fits also the culture of the athletics program and other sports as well. That's what I've learned tremendously, is that it's a family effort, and it's a everybody's all in, to compete at the highest level possible. So that has been really phenomenal to see.
It's super fun to take a little time here and get to know you and hear your story. And I hope to do it in person, cross paths in Boulder sooner rather than later. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, thank you, Matt.